What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about Call of Duty Black Ops 6 coming to Game Pass. They officially announced it this morning, and huge, honestly huge. There's two different parts to this. There's my own personal, will I be taking advantage of this offer? And then also, now you confirm it. It was a rumor before. I mean, really yesterday, I think, the last couple days, there was some sort of notification going out to some people. People were taking pictures of their phones and uploading it to Twitter, and it did say, play COD with Game Pass. So there definitely were signs like this was coming, but now, they officially announced it. So, number one, and I think I've said this when it was just a rumor, I mean, I would do it. I haven't played it. Well, I played a multiplayer Call of Duty game a few years ago. A very generous individual from the community actually gave me a copy, and they're always kind of fun. I'm not massively into them, but I would play them, I guess, if they were offered to me in that way. I would take advantage of this, and I do. And I've said before, I want these games on Game Pass. I think if you can put the last 10-15 CODs on Game Pass, that would be enormous. It's probably easier said than actually doing it, but maybe they kind of pick and choose which of these games they're going to put over there. But I can almost guarantee, this will be the first day one. I didn't play the one that he gave me. I didn't play that day one, but this would be the first day one Call of Duty game I'll be experiencing in a long time. I used to play them when I was probably a teenager, and then I kind of got more into Battlefield. Okay, what about the analysis from Xbox, right? Because this is a gamble, this is a risk, but the other side of things would have been a risk, right? And we talked about this leading into it. So you have the angle of not putting it on Game Pass, right? If you don't put it on Game Pass, what does that do versus doing it? I think this is probably the right idea. Now, you are potentially eliminating a lot of sales, a lot. And you're putting it now on, the other platforms, which is really only PlayStation, right? Because it's eventually, the rumor is that I think starting next year, Call of Duty will start making its way to Nintendo Switch 2, right? So going forward, if they keep the every year it's going to be on Game Pass thing, going forward, you're going to have to pay, the full price if you're on PlayStation or Switch. But then if you have Game Pass, I believe also the PC Game Pass thing works as well. So anywhere else, it's only, and for this year, it's if you're on PlayStation, you're paying. If you're nowhere else, I mean, yeah, you can buy it, but you can also just do it through Game Pass. It's a risk, but I do think it's probably the right move just because, really the simplest way of the riots that would occur if you didn't do it. You buy Activision Blizzard. Call of Duty is the biggest thing. It's one of the biggest things on planet Earth. It's the biggest thing definitely in that group that you just got. And then you don't put it on your premier subscription service that you want everybody to have, right? And ultimately, this is a game, if there was ever a game, to get people to subscribe to the service, the thing that they want. And you could argue, well, Alex, that's not going to be enough or this or that. If they want Game Pass, right? If that's all they want Game Pass subscriptions. There's really not a better game besides maybe the Elder Scrolls of the world, Elder Scrolls 6. When that comes out, I think that would be a big mover for Game Pass. Any of the huge Xbox games, you could argue, right? Maybe not Avowed, maybe that's not high or big enough, but does Indiana Jones, get you people? Does something like Elder Scrolls? Does Doom get you it? Maybe some of these games do it. But none of these games get you as high as maybe Elder Scrolls 6, maybe a Fallout, but Call of Duty. Call of Duty is absolutely the number one thing. Because there's tens of millions of people that get it every year. There's tens of millions of people that play it every year. Now, some of them are already in your ecosystem and some of them are not. Are you trying to, if you're trying to get them over, well, you could say, well, you just need a PC, or, oh, you just need an Xbox Series S. You don't even need to get the X, right? Buy the cheaper one and then just get Game Pass and you could play Call of Duty, instead of being on PlayStation. It's probably the right move. I gotta be real. I know maybe not everybody would like it, but I think the reverse of it is just a really bad look where it's because here's the thing. If you don't get the Game Pass subscriptions you're looking for, you might, this would hurt. This is going to hurt. It's not even it might. If one thing happens, then the other thing happens. It could be very, very bad. But the reverse of it, I think, is just massive anger and probably people being driven away from the ecosystem. I honestly, that's my mindset at least. If you put COD, or you put any of these games, any of these big games, if you don't put it on Game Pass, what do you think people are going to do, right? Where it's so you bought them, you own them, and you have Game Pass, but you're not going to put it on Game Pass. Well, then why am I sticking around? And that's not something they can afford to do. Now, again, can they afford the reverse of it, right? If they don't get a influx of Game Pass subscriptions, it's going to hurt because they've had to have done the math. And really, even from us, from like an analysis point of view, right? You probably just have to do the math. How many players that would be getting it on Game Pass right now, right, versus buying it? Okay, you have to find that number. So if there's 4 million people that just casually play it every year, they buy it, but right now they have Game Pass, so you're not going to make any extra money from them. In fact, you have lost that money, right? That's money lost, and they've got to be able to do the math of those people. Then you got to do the math of, okay, well, just what about the people that would be swayed by it to get Game Pass that don't already have it? You have to look for new people. Like that's the tricky thing with all of this. With Doom, with Indiana Jones, with Avowed, with any of these games, you've got to look at people that flat out do not have it, that get Game Pass specifically for X game. And if they don't do that, that is the mistake. That's the failure of that system, and they had to make the choice right now, right? Because if you didn't do it, you might get all that money, but you also might have people that flat out say, nope, we're not going to do it. You know what I mean? But now by having it, you say, okay, can we get, and people have done rough math, like you probably are shooting for like 1 to 2 million Game Pass subscriptions for Call of Duty. And that might seem extreme, or it actually might not seem extreme enough depending on who you are. You know, because you think like, if it sells 20, 25 million just to get 2, that's 10% of 20. So that's not a ton, but it's also not nothing. And again, you're going for people that don't already have Game Pass. That's the tough find out there, but that's what they need to do. You got to find a couple million. And you know, there was the talk a few years ago, really, right, where they wanted 100 million Game Pass subscribers by whatever, I think 2030, and it's like they have like 70 million or 65 million to go, and they only got 5.5 years left. It's not going to happen. But again, if you can siphon out 2, maybe 3 or 4, and again, I don't know any other games that can really do this though. That's the issue. After COD, and it happens every year, but after COD, what is the next game that like demands that you need Game Pass? Starfield was probably that. Halo would have been that even before, right? But Halo's a while out. Maybe Gears of War, but that is already in the ecosystem. You already have people, that do it. So what's the next game? I really think it would be a Fallout or Elder Scrolls, and those are still 2, 3, 4 years away at least, for Elder Scrolls. So, it's an interesting strategy. We'll have to see how it plays out. I'm excited to see, like, do they announce that it got so many subscribers? Probably not until you get, like, investor meetings. And even for somebody like me, they got me, like, I'll play it, but I already have Game Pass. So they're not, like, getting an extra subscription from me, for, you know what I mean? So and there could be other people like that as well. So we'll see how it goes. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.